My name is Nina Gualinga, and I am from the Quechua people of Sarayaku in the Ecuadorian Amazon. I'm currently in southern Sweden, and I want to take a moment to acknowledge the Sami people living in northern Sweden. They too have been fighting to protect their territories and ways of life, just as my community in the Amazon. And Indigenous people all around the world have been fighting to protect their territories, land, water, and life on Earth. And because of this, because we have been standing up against big corporations and extractive industries that are destroying our territories and ways of life, many Indigenous people and leaders have been threatened, persecuted, tortured, raped, and murdered. But we have known for many generations that we must protect and take care of our earth because we depend on what nature gives us. And my people, we believe that the forest is alive, that the earth is alive. We call it Kausaksacha, which means the living forest. And the trees are alive, the animals are alive, the mountains, the lakes, the rivers, and we are, as a community and as humans, we are part of this living organism, which is the earth. And even if I didn't grow up by the ocean, the rivers that I have bathed in my whole life eventually lead to the ocean. And the rivers are alive, the water is alive, the ocean is alive, and everything that is in it. And in order to halt the destruction and create balance again, we need to listen to Indigenous voices and Indigenous knowledge because we have been taking care of these places for many generations, and that has been proven. We know that the best protected areas are Indigenous territories. That's a fact. But there is also one important aspect in all of this, is that when we talk about listening to Indigenous people and using Indigenous knowledge to protect the earth and to protect life on earth, we also need to be aware of that we need to work with Indigenous people and make sure that Indigenous people take the lead and guide us. Because if we don't do that, this will just be another story of extraction of Indigenous knowledge, Indigenous territories, Indigenous medicine, and Indigenous healing. And that is exactly what has been happening from the first era of colonization, where Indigenous land and Indigenous knowledge is being extracted for various reasons. And today we talk a lot about Indigenous wisdom, Indigenous knowledge, but we also need to be really careful in how we work with Indigenous people, and are we extracting the knowledge that Indigenous people carry, or are we actually making sure that Indigenous people have a role in this, that Indigenous people are taking the lead and guiding us, because that is the work that needs to be done. That is the real work that needs to be done. And also shift our mindsets in how we view and how we relate to the living beings around us. Because essentially, that is the connection, that special connection that Indigenous people have with the earth, is that we recognize ourselves as part of nature. There is no other. Nature is not, we are part of nature. And we can often see that, for example, in the Quechua language, there is no word such as nature. And that is because we don't view nature as the other or something that is outside of our societies, but we are rather included in that. Even, I mean, if we look at what's happening in the Amazon right now, there's a certain tree, the balsa tree, that is being extracted so aggressively, that is being cut down, exported from the Amazon to China so that they can use this wood for the wind power engines. So, we're actually cutting down the Amazon in the name of green energy, wind power, and in the name of sustainability. I was saying it's really important to really work in collaboration with Indigenous groups, Indigenous people, and let Indigenous people lead the way, really, because it's those Indigenous people that know the land, that have had this relationship with the land or the ocean or the rivers or the lakes or the mountains, that know the best. So we need to trust their knowledge, their wisdom, and their capacity, and work with Indigenous people, not for. That will be the answer to all our questions, is to really, truly let Indigenous people lead the way in this.